We're back with another edition of the Penn State 365 podcast. Richie O'Leary, Joey Klender. We just did our NCAA tournament recap, but now we're going to talk about the future of Penn State next season. So let's just look at the lineup. Let's go weight class by weight class. 125 pounds. It's got to be Luke Lilladell again, right?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think there's a question about that. Luke's got really high expectations for next year, heading into next year based on what he did this year. So, not really too much of a question who will be at 25.
You think he'll be a title favorite? Or, I mean, he'll probably be one of them, but do you think he'll be the title favorite?
I would think so, yeah. Just based on from start to finish. I would have to agree with that.
Okay. 133 pounds, and this is where it gets kind of a little bit interesting. Does Braden Davis return? Does the newcomer in Ono, I don't know how to pronounce his first name, Masasano Suki, maybe? That might be close.
I think it's let me look, because I had it down for one second.
Masano Suki, or is it Masasano, or it's a tough one.
Masanosuke Ono.
I'm not even gonna try again.
Masanosuke.
You got it down to a science. So, who ends up winning this 133 pound? Because his weight is like a little interesting.
Yeah. I think Ono's probably going to be the guy, but there's a couple ways you can look at this. Ono is not a folk style wrestler; he's a freestyle wrestler, so he's going to have to learn folk style. And not saying that like it's like starting from block one, and that he's going to have to. It's not like going from basketball to golf or something, but there are things that are a little different. In freestyle, you don't have to ride, so he's going to have to learn how to get on top and keep guys down. He's going to have to learn top game, and that's a lot, especially at the collegiate level. He's going to have, let's see, we're in April now, and wrestling starts in November, so he's got seven or 8 months roughly. Yeah, but 8 months isn't a lot of time when these guys have been wrestling folk style their entire freaking lives. So we don't know how long he's also been wrestling folk style. He's been in the Penn State room for some time, but you don't know how much he was working on folk style or freestyle. So I would imagine that he's the guy just based off of expectations, I guess. It's just kind of a prediction for me. I think that they'll probably end up redshirting Davis unless Davis wants to bump up to 41, which is, we can talk about that with the next weight class. But, I would imagine that Ono probably will end up winning that spot. But I think early in the year, you're going to kind of see both. It's going to be kind of like the Facundo and Kasek thing where, they might the spot might be won at an open tournament or something like that. So
it's fair.
Interesting.
And Aaron Nagao is just kind of screwed a little bit.
I don't know if we'll ever see Aaron Nagao start in a duel again.
At Penn State, at least.
At Penn State, yeah.
Always a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, he could leave again. And to be completely frank, if it were me and I was there and I was 2 or 3 guys behind and, it wasn't looking too bright for me, and I wanted to wrestle, I would want to go too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Get out.
Yeah. So, I don't really know what it's looking like with him. I know he's dealt with that injury, the wrist or whatever. I know he's dealt with that, but I don't know if that was the reason he really didn't wrestle that much this year. I don't know if it was, Davis just beat him outright for the spot. I'm not really sure. So, but I don't know. I don't think that we'll see Nagao. Yeah, it's kind of a crappy situation because if he would have stayed in Minnesota, I think he'd still be wrestling. And, I'm happy he's in State College and everything, but I feel bad that he's, kind of, it seems like he's the third string right now.
Yeah. I mean, if you're healthy, why not go somewhere else and just start? With the portal being the way it is, it makes almost too much sense. I'm sure, like we talked about in our last pod, I'm sure like a Rutgers or someone else at that level would take you in a heartbeat.
Oh, absolutely. And, there's always a possibility that he, puts on a little muscle, puts on a little size, goes to a different weight class, where Penn State might be able to utilize him. Maybe he'll be open-minded towards that. So,
yeah. That's where 141 gets a little interesting. I know people have talked about Ono potentially doing that because he did wrestle 61 kilograms, which is what, 134 and a half,
I
135.
think
Oh, yeah,
so.
134 and a half. Yeah. Ono, you said Braden Davis already. Marcus Blaze is coming in.
Blaze, yep.
It's going to be tough to see kind of who gets that, and you got to replace a 3-time top 3 finisher in Bartlett.
Mm-hmm.
We all give him shit because he
Right.
falters in the end, but still top 3 times. Like, it's still
Yeah.
damn good.
Yeah. No, fifth, third, and second. Top 5.
Top 5. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I think that Blaze will probably be the 41 pounder. These kids that come out of high school now are already ready for college.
Yeah.
You know, they wrestle college tournaments and win and beat college guys and beat graduated kids all the freaking time. Blaze is no exception. I mean, he's beat a lot of really good guys, a lot of guys that are out of college. He's wrestled Ono before and lost to him in freestyle. You know, he's if I think the lineup, if the way I think the lineup pans out, I would think that Blaze is probably the guy at 41.
Now, any concerns with a freshman doing it again? Because I know Lilladale looked fine, obviously, but still, it's a freshman. At the end of the day, it's a true freshman, nonetheless.
Yeah. No, not necessarily, because you know, Blaze is he the number 1 recruit coming out of this class?
I think he was. I gotta double check on that.
I can't remember what his number is, because you also have PJ Duke, I think, and there's a couple other big ones. I just can't remember where Blaze is.
Let me check real quick. But I believe he was pretty close.
I think he was first or third or something.
Yeah, shit, 26, 25. He was, of course, it's got team rank, big board. Oh, he was 1. Yeah, he was number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing is, you know, the kids that come into college, the kids that came into college really highly recruited and like the number 1 guy, you know, like David Taylor, for example, when he came into college, you know, he was the number 1 guy. And he was not ready to wrestle college. He wasn't ready in college when he got there. He got his ass whipped every single day. And it's not really like that anymore, because the kids are so much better. The training is so much better. The kids are wrestling high-level international tournaments. So they're kind of adjusted to it. I think that he'll have a little bit of a grace period where he has to kind of adjust to the speed and the strength of things, just like Luke did. Luke had a lot of issues with his head-hand defense early on and dealing with the strength of college kids. But he adjusted to it. He did really well. So I think we'll kind of see that with Blaze if he doesn't redshirt. But I would anticipate that he's going to be a guy who's in that conversation next year for 41. You know, not only for the team, but in the grand scheme of things. I know you have Mendez who's coming back, and I think Hardy a junior or a senior.
I think he's a junior.
Okay, I'm not sure if he's coming back, but yeah. But yeah, I think that Blaze would be my best guess to be the starter at 41. But you know, you have flexibility there. We just talked about Nagel, we talked about Davis, we talked about Ono. I mean, these are all there's 4 guys realistically who could end up being there. There might even be more. There might be guys I'm missing off the top of my head, but I would think Blaze is the guy at 41. That's my guess.
149, a little bit easier here. Shane Van Ness kind of just walks back in and just does his thing, right?
Yeah, I would think so. You know, we're still kind of early in the transfer portal stuff, and you don't know if somebody might shockingly leave and he might go up to 57 or something. But, you know, I don't think that there will be much of a conversation about 49. So
same thing for 57. Kasich just kind of
I would think so. Yeah. I think he'll be even better next year. You know, he was spectacular this year, Kasich, and you know, I know we've read some rumblings on the forums and stuff like that about him leaving, but I'm just not really buying that. I think he's happy here. I think that he has a spot here. I think he's really happy with how he's developed as a wrestler in his 2 years as a starter. So, and he you know, he really fit into that 57 really well. I think I was a little skeptical over what would happen with him moving up to that weight class, but he put some size on, and he was really, really phenomenal all year. I think most people were pretty shocked that he didn't win the whole thing, but that's what happens. So, but yeah, I would think Kasich and 49, 57, 65, 74, I think are pretty much
locked in.
Yeah.
I don't understand the rumors for Kasich just because you have a starting spot on.
Yeah.
I don't want to say guaranteed because it's not, I guess, a guarantee, but it's pretty damn near close. Like a guaranteed spot for like this national championship team. Why would you want to leave?
Right. And especially like the rumor was Rutgers, and no offense, but I just don't really get that.
So. Especially when I just told you last pod, they don't have money. They just lost one of their top guys in Dean Peterson to more than likely Iowa, not official, but
yeah.
It just doesn't make sense, but you already said it. 165-pound Mitch was your Hodge winner. He's not going nowhere. And then 174 Levi Haines, senior year, he's definitely not going.
Right. And, there has been talk. I know that there is talk of maybe him taking a red shirt. I just don't really see the merit in that, I guess. So I would expect him to be at 74 next year. The fun thing about this is these are way too early predictions, and things have a tendency to get shaken up over the summer and stuff like that. So, take all this with a grain of salt, I guess.
That's fair. So now that's where it gets interesting because they just added Rocco Welsh via the transfer portal. He's going to wrestle at 184, but he's going to train at 174 this offseason.
Yeah.
Now, I know you mentioned potential red shirt for Haines, technically. Could they just redshirt Haines, put Rocco in there, and then slide in Ryder at 184? Or is it more of a
That's what I think. That's what I think. I think there's flexibility there, and I think it's going to be kind of up to Levi with what he wants to do.
Yeah.
I think the stronger lineup is to keep Levi at 74, not redshirt him, especially because Welsh, he's did he compete at he was at 74 when he beat Starachi, or when he wrestled Starachi in the finals, and Starachi beat him. So he can wrestle at 74, but he just kind of slides into that 84 a little better. And I don't think you'll ever find a guy who is unwilling to eat really well in the off season and not have to watch their weight all year long. So I would like to see him up at 84, but this is another thing. Ryder was like, everybody was talking about Zach Ryder being the 84, the next few years. And this is the other thing about this whole NIL and transfer portal thing is, now you're, this is a sport, and ultimately college sports are a business, and, it's all about winning. And there's no loyalty in it. If somebody's going to pay you more, or a team's going to have a better chance of winning, people are not going to stay. So, crappy situation. But, there's a lot of things that can happen with that weight. So
I just don't think you add a guy like a Rocco Welsh who has 3 years left still to the lineup unless you kind of had a plan already in place.
Right. And it just kind of seems like he's going to squeeze in there and be a good replacement for Starachi, especially because he is proven to be successful at this level already.
And we don't think the other Mirasola kind of has a fighting chance at all. Probably just because, again, why add a transfer?
I would probably put him up at 97. Okay. I think that was his listed weight 84, 97, or was it only 84?
I think it was. No, you're right, 84, 97.
Yeah. Okay, so I would think that Mirasola is probably in a little bit of a weird spot too because of Barr. But the thing is I guess there's a couple ways they can shake that out with his red shirt being gone, and I don't know. The depth is where things get kind of dicey because you wonder how things are going to shake out with that. There are kids that they came to college to wrestle, and when they don't really have a clear cut path to winning a spot, but then there's also. There is a possibility that Mirasola gets really good and he beats Barr for a spot at 97. There's so many different ways. There are so many different ways things can work, and So,
all right. So we don't even really have to talk 197 because you kind of just hinted at what could happen potentially. But it seems like Josh Barr has the spot for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Heavyweight, other Mirasola just kind of walks in. I don't really know if there's competition. Do they go get a transfer maybe?
I would keep an eye on that, but I would think that that's probably Mirasola.
Okay.
Who else is on the roster at heavyweight?
Bundy, but I think that's it. Yeah, because they didn't get any. They didn't bring in a freshman.
Yeah,
Henkel's going to go 197, right?
I would think so. Yeah, he's going to be up there too. That's the other thing. You have a lot of guys coming in. You have Asher Cunningham coming in. He's going to be at that middle spot. 65, 74, whatever. Dalton Perry, who is an absolute freaking tank. Saw him at States. The kid is a freaking.
Yeah.
He's just a big piece of muscle.
I don't think there's anyone else, actually. I'm looking now. Jeez. I don't think he'd win it, but could Friccione technically add weight?
He's in the portal.
Oh, yeah, okay. Never mind. There we go. End of story.
So, yeah.
So he's in the portal. Let's talk portal real quick. He's in the portal. Facundo just transferred, technically.
Mm-hmm.
Steen also transferred. Am I missing one? I feel like I missed. Oh, that's
I
it,
think
right?
David Evans is also in the portal.
Yes, yeah.
I think he is also in the portal.
To Oklahoma State, and Steen and Facundo. What do you think they kind of end up doing with their career?
Facundo, I have higher. Facundo will probably get a spot and he'll fit in down there. Okay. Steen, I'm feeling like he probably went because of Taylor, and he probably went because Facundo went. And nothing against Steen, but Steen almost kind of seems like I expect him to go to Pitt. I expected him to transfer to a Division II school before I expect him to go to Oklahoma State. Just because I do think he's kind of like a step behind the Division I level in terms of like a kid that's going to qualify for a national tournament and contribute to the team. So I don't really think Steen will ever get a go down there, but he's a talented kid
type thing. Like, hey, he knows what David Taylor wants. He knows what kind of culture he wants to build. He can preach it to the kids.
Right, and there might be a little bit easier of a path for him at 25 there than up here because he's not beating Luke for the spot. It's just not going to happen. I don't care if he trains his ass off every single day. You know, Luke is a better wrestler than him, but I think I just I don't really have I don't have big expectations for Steen. I'm really happy that he's going somewhere where, he will probably get some more experience. Maybe he has a little bit better shot at getting a spot. And plus, he might have really hit it off with Gilman, and Gilman's there now. So he might really, Gilman, from what it looks like, is a really, really great coach. So yeah, I have higher expectations for Facundo, and I think he'll fit into that lineup down there. And I think he's going to be a little better off than Steen will be, but I want to be abundantly clear that I'm really happy for both of those guys doing what's best for them and not sticking around if they didn't really see a future here. So, obviously I was really gutted for Facundo at the beginning of the year because, I spoke a lot about Levi going up to 74, and I felt like, Facundo, he was from 57 to 74, he could have fit in anywhere there, and it just kind of he just kind of got screwed, to be completely honest. So can't blame him for going somewhere where he's going to get a little bit more wrestling in. So I'm really happy for him.
Now, anyone else on this roster that you could potentially see entering the portal? I'm looking now. I don't really see a name, to be honest with you. But I guess it's tough when you're like third string or worse. It's kind of like, all right, I'm out. Like,
right.
I'm trying to think.
I don't know. I mean, as of right now, I really don't think so. I think there's a possibility. This is very, very speculative. So, don't hold me to it. But you could see a guy like Davis maybe entering the portal after next season.
I thought that too. If he does if you're not going to win that battle, especially. I mean, when you add a guy like Ono, it's like shit.
Right. And then on top of it, Joe Seeley is another name that comes to mind when you think of guys that might want to go.
Okay.
You know, he had a couple matches this year. He got absolutely screwed in one of them. He should have won. But he got 2 matches in. He had some good experience and everything. But, you know, you're getting to the point where these guys who are there and they're freshmen and you're getting to a point where you're kind of having a difficult time seeing a route for them to win a starting spot. With Seeley, it's difficult because you have Mitch who has 2 more years. You have Levi who has a year who, you know, after him, there's a lot of flexibility there. Kasech's got 2 more years. He's probably not going to move from 57.
Yeah.
And then you got Duke coming in and, you know, you have Dalton Perry coming in. You have Asher Cunningham coming in. And you have like all these guys that are coming in that middle of that lineup. So you're going to see guys from 57 to maybe 84 that are going to maybe look at their other options. And so if I had to pick 2 or 3 that I could see going, I would pick Davis maybe being one of them. I would say Nagao is probably maybe thinking about making a move just based on 33 and 41 and the options that are available there. And it's nothing against him. I just think that, you know, with Ono and Davis and Blaze being in the mix now, I don't know if I see Nagao beating all 3 of those guys and winning a spot or beating one of those guys and winning a spot. It just depends. You know, you don't know what goes on in that room and how guys are going to adapt. So those would be my 3, I would say.
I mean, even adding like a Rocco Welsh, does that piss off or Walsh? Does that end up pissing off Ryder like a little bit?
I'm sure he's probably not super stoked about it, but at the same time, I think a lot of these kids understand that, you know, it's college wrestling. This isn't high school senior night. This isn't Little League baseball where everybody's getting playing time. It's just the best guy is going to go out and whoever gives the team the biggest chance to win is going to go out. And, you know, Zach Ryder could beat Rocco Welsh in the wrestle-offs. That's the thing is anybody can beat anybody. They wrestle each other a lot. They pick up things on each other and, you know, I don't think anybody takes it personally, though. I think that's the big thing. Nobody's like, oh, they went out and got this transfer because they think I suck. I don't think that's it at all. I think everybody knows that their job is earned. It's not given. And it's just kind of how it is.
It's funny because I feel like it's a little different, obviously, at Penn State when you're part of this national championship team every year versus, say, go to Minnesota. It's like, fuck this. I lost my job. I'm out. Like, I can go start at Ryder or something. Like,
And there are guys, you know, who are maybe okay with not starting and are okay with being on that team because they like the guys they wrestle with. They like being in state college. They are still getting experience from Cale Sanderson. They're still getting tips from technique from Casey Cunningham. So, you know, there's advantages to it. That's not the worst thing in the world to say. I was a 4-time team champion in my time at Penn State. I never started, but I have 4 rings for it. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, still get the memorabilia and so
like those are the things that some kids might be okay with. So you know,
it's like being the custodian at say the Dodger Stadium. You still get a little ring. It might not be the same, but it's still a ring.
You still get one, right?
But that's really all I got. You got anything else before we sign off here? I think we hit on just about everything.
I think that's everything, yeah.
All right. So I'm sure we'll probably have more probably recruiting pods at this point in the season. We'll wait and see what happens there. But for me and Joey, really, that's another episode of the Penn State 365 podcast. Signing off.